Let's talk about the Biovac Institute now. They, of course, are the ones who are going to be part of the local manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines in line with South Africa's industrial policy. This is what we heard the Deputy President David Mabuza say yesterday. He chairs the Interministerial Committee on COVID-19 vaccines, and he was at the Biovac facility for a site inspection. And he says it's good storage for the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. And, of course, the Biovac Institute has been contracted by government to import, store and distribute coronavirus vaccines at the moment for frontline healthcare workers. We've spoken to him before, Dr. Morena Makhoana. Welcome back, the CEO of the Biovac Institute. Good morning and thank you for your time.
Good morning, Brian.
So the last time you and I chatted, there was sort of a lot of movement around what was happening at that time with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines that were in the country. I suppose the first question I must ask you, are they still in your facilities? Have they been shipped off somewhere?
Yes, so correct. The AstraZeneca vaccine is still in our facilities, and Department of Health is making preparations for them to be shipped out fairly soon.
Weren't they expiring in April?
Yes, there is an expiry date of April, but I believe that the manufacturer is providing more data around the possibility of it being extended. But those are the discussions that are happening between Department of Health and the manufacturer, being Serum Institute.
All right, so you have no sense whether they might still be used in South Africa at this stage. Might you still be told, actually no, rather send them to sites here?
No, yeah. So at the moment, we are just being told to prepare them for shipment externally, because I think, as the Minister of Health has publicly said, that they are discussing with the African Union. So it looks like it's most likely that they will be shipped out to other countries.
All right, let's talk about the visit with the Deputy President yesterday, talking about the manufacturing now of 80% of vaccines in Cape Town, which will then be distributed around the country. He talked about increasing capacity so that we're able to do this, and your institute is going to play a big role in the storage of those shots.
Yeah, so maybe I must just put his 80% into context. So what the Deputy President was saying is that we produce 80% of the value of current pediatric vaccine.
Aha.
So that's what he was saying, that currently that's what we do, and that we can use that capability for COVID vaccine. So it was not 80% of a COVID vaccine. It was the fact that we currently manufacture 80% of the pediatric vaccine's value. So maybe I just wanted to correct that that perception.
I appreciate that correction. So does that mean that we will be using homegrown capacity to manufacture some of these vaccines here for us?
Yes. So one of the things that we are doing, so we are doing two things, Bongani. So one is that we do have excess capacity that we can use for a COVID vaccine. But that capacity, and I think the last time we chatted, I did say that it's fairly modest in terms of that we can make about 20 million doses annually available in our capacity. So that's sort of one. The second aspect is that it's clear that South Africa needs much larger capacity. Now, that will take years to build, but I think that's an important thing that even government has recognized. Now, you don't build facilities during a pandemic, you build facilities between pandemic, and that's
right.
Sort of like the preparation that we are doing. But that will take a few years, but that capacity is needed so that next time, in 10 years' time, when I talk to you, we don't say, oh, but, you didn't make use of the opportunity when COVID was here. Why are we having now another pandemic, and why are we dependent on external companies, to give us product? But that will take a few years to build.
One of the things, of course, you and I also discussed the last time was around the Pfizer vaccines, which have to be stored at certain temperatures. And we're talking about our capacity to roll those out successfully in that context. I was intrigued to see you on television last night pointing out that the fridges that we would need would not necessarily mean, they weren't necessarily that big.
Yes. So I think what you may have seen on the visuals on television is that at the moment we have fridges that have minus 70 capacity. Now, whilst physically they don't seem that big, they actually hold quite a bit of capacity. So if we were to handle the Pfizer vaccine, each of those fridges would hold about 1 million doses, because we must remember that the vaccine comes in multi-dose vials. So by 1 million doses does not necessarily translate to 1 million vials. It translates to, let's say, 200,000 vials, because it's a 5-dose vaccine. So out of those fridges, we have about a capacity of 3 million doses of vaccine, should the Pfizer vaccine come into the country.
At any given time.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.